What's up guys, and welcome to my Ice Golem Made Easy guide. In this guide, I'm going to be going over all of the Ice Golem's mechanics and teaching you how to counter those mechanics. The most important mechanic to be aware of is the Ice Golem's passive, Frigid Vengeance. This ability triggers whenever his HP drops below 80, 60, 45, 30, and 15%. When he uses this attack, he will revive his minions. However, for each minion alive when he uses the attack, he'll ignore 50% of your defense. That means if both minions are alive when he does this, he'll ignore 100% of all your defense. But don't worry, there's a way around this. If the boss is pushed over these HP thresholds by damage caused by HP burn or poisons, his passive will not trigger. This makes champions who can place AoE HP burn and AoE poisons extremely powerful, especially if they can activate those burns and poisons. But just because you're using burns and poisons doesn't mean this passive will never trigger. Sometimes the raw damage from your skills, or damage from masteries like War Master and Giant Slayer, can push him over these thresholds with just a little bit of bad luck. Here is a perfect example of that. Not only did I trigger his passive, but I did it while both minions were alive, so the attack ignored 100% of my champion's defense. You could see it dealt 45,000 to Yakarl and 59,000 to Drang. This is why it is imperative you have a decrease attack champion on your team. So now that we've established the most important champion to bring on your team is a champion who can do decrease attack, ideally on an AoE. The reason you want it on an AoE is because as long as the side minions are alive, your champions will not attack the boss. So if you have a champion who places decrease attack on an AoE, you're guaranteed to get it on the boss as well, assuming you have enough accuracy. So now that we got decrease attack settled, let's find a speed champion to keep our team moving fast. I'm going to go with High Katoon here. And then next we need a damage dealer, someone to help us not only get through the waves, but help us kill the boss. We're going to use Kale because he's a good affinity for the dungeon. He has decent AoE damage, as well as he brings poisons to help us chip away at the boss's HP. Now next, champions can die in Ice Golem. It's a very sketchy dungeon, so you need a reviver, ideally one with high HP. I would aim for 50,000 HP for your reviver. Okay, and now we need a little bit more wave damage. My Kale isn't built extraordinarily well. I kind of just threw him in some random lifesteal gear I had lying around. So we're going to bring in Drexlar for additional wave damage and HP burns on the boss. He's got some nice additional crowd control abilities with his AoE provoke. Yeah, you see there, my Kale's not doing a whole lot of damage. I think my my Syl hit harder than my Kale, possibly. But my Kale is in lifesteal gear, which is very important for the second wave. When on the second wave you have the Terror Beasts who place 30% reflect damage on all their allies, which means 30% of the damage you deal to them gets reflected back to you. Lifesteal heals you for 30% of the damage you deal, so Lifesteal will effectively counteract that reflect damage from the Terror Beasts and keep him on his feet. Ideally, Syl would stun them, or Drexlar would provoke them, but you can't always rely on that. We got pretty lucky there. But it's never a bad idea to put your damage dealer for this dungeon in lifesteal just in case. I got really lucky with the Syl stuns there. Got them both times. That's not always going to happen, which is why you want lifesteal on your nuker. So we have decrease attack on the boss. That's good. So if we do trigger the passive here, it's going to cut the boss's damage in half. Where's the passive? Luckily, both of the side adds were dead, so it did not ignore any of our defense. Whenever a champion under HP burn takes a turn, they are dealt damage equal to 3% of their max HP. In addition, each of their allies are dealt damage equal to 3% of their max HP. So whenever these side adds takes damage from an HP burn, the boss loses about, or is dealt damage to about 51,000 damage. And whenever he gets burned from his own HP burn, he gets damage dealt to him equal to about 50,000 damage. I think it's 51,000. So these small poisons will deal slightly less because they only deal damage equal to 2.5 of the enemy's max HP. And then the big poisons should deal slightly more because they deal damage equal to 5% of the enemy's max HP. Or I should say the affected target. Here, the side ad takes a turn, but they're stunned so they don't go. But if you watch, you'll see the damage pop up of 51,497. That's damage being dealt to the boss by the burn on the side ad. Now, as the boss is about to take his turn, look at the debuffs on his debuff bar. We have 1 HP burn, 1 2.5% poison, and 2 5% poisons. Now, when he takes his turn, you'll see 2 instances of 34,331, 1 instance of 17,166, and 1 instance of 51,497. The 2 instances of 34,000 were from the 2 5% poisons, the 1 instance of 17,000 was from the 2.5% poison, and the 51,000 is from the HP burns. This will not, if he's pushed over the threshold by smite, it will not trigger his passive either. Now this is not a speedrun by any means, I am aware of that. I just want to show you a slow, steady, consistent team. Because that is the most important thing. Once you can clear the dungeon, then you can worry about making it faster. Now right here, we're about to witness the importance of AoE decrease attack. Kale survived the hit, but then gets wrecked on the backswing. And if it wasn't for the decrease attack, the rest of the team would have gone down too. Okay, so now this team aims to use Phoenix to block revive on the side adds. Phoenix hits incredibly hard. That was a 73,000 A1, but it's a 2-hitter. The enemy died before he can get the second hit. Looks like I need to fix his crit rate. He seems to be a bit shy. I think I may have put the wrong boots on him. When I'm using him in Doom Tower, I put speed boots on him, and when I'm using him for Ice Golem, I put attack percentage boots. I must have grabbed the wrong ones. So there he also places block buffs on all the enemies, and the enemies that don't receive block buffs receive block active cooldowns. So by placing block buffs, he's preventing these terror beasts from placing reflect damage on all their allies. So he's actually just a really great champion for this dungeon. Whether he blocks the revive or not, he's a great option to help you get through these terror beasts on the second wave. There you go. About 215k against the second side ad there. And he is definitely going to finish off this one. Only took 1 hit, so that would have dealt 200,000 damage. He is just a beast. And his build isn't even that nuts in the gear I have him in. Like, it's a good build, but it's not like insane. He's just a really hard-hitting champion. So we get the passive trigger, but because Phoenix killed the side adds, they don't get revived. So every time, we don't have to worry about triggering the boss's passive now, because it's never going to bring the adds back. We just plow through with our damage. And we even blocked revive on the boss. Just to show you I don't have like insane gear on my Phoenix, this is his build. Now 4,000 attack is a lot, but he's got, oh, it's not like insane, but it's a good amount, but he's got very high base attack at 1,450. And the crit damage is only 220, which if you're newer in the game that might sound like a lot, but I promise you it's not much at all. I think my Cleopteryx actually has higher damaging stats. Let me check real quick. About 4k attack, and she's got 267% crit damage. And if you look at the end screen on that fight, they dealt about the same amount of damage. The difference is Phoenix was only using his A1 aside from the AoE that he opened with on the second wave. Cleo has 2 very hard-hitting AoEs. I'm actually going to show you one last thing. Now, I didn't put this in my spider guide because I didn't want it to feel like I was flexing, but a lot of people mentioned in the comments that they were intrigued by the 3-man team that I showed with Walking Tomb Drang, my Meat Shield tank, War Chief, and Yakarl the Scourge to freeze the Spiderlings. My Tyrant can actually solo Spider 20, and he can solo Ice Golem stage 20 as well. Now, if I'm trying to maximize my energy efficiency, I'll use Tyrant because I can farm gear and food at the same time. And it's also really efficient during fusions because if there's a champion training event going on, while there's an Ice Golem tournament going on, and a Dungeon Divers, you can knock out 3 events at once. So this is my Tyrant. He solos Ice Golem, he solos Spider 20, and I'm assuming if I can get Brimstone on him, he can solo Dragon 22. Like, he's kind of close to soloing Dragon 20, but he just kind of falls short. He's just not killing the boss fast enough. He can make it through the waves fine. I've just been holding out for a perfect soul in the market, just waiting to pick one up. I think at 1 star he should be able to do it just fine. And once I get that, I will do a full guide on him. He's in a lifesteal build, which I think is important for the second wave, because as I mentioned before with the Kale team, that reflect damage just is a killer. But he does have Life Drinker. Oh no, that's not good. He's got 350 resist, so that shouldn't happen very often. But he's got Life Drinker Mastery, which allows him to get some extra healing when he attacks, which sort of pushes him over the top from breaking even when he does his AoE. And then, in addition, he's in a Blood Shield accessory, so that helps a little bit. And he's also got a Mastery Blood Shield that gives him a shield worth 10% of his max HP whenever he kills an enemy. So between Life Drinker, the Blood Shield accessory, and the Blood Shield Mastery, this is actually really close. Okay, luckily he managed to stabilize. But yeah, getting that stun was just really bad luck. With 350 resistance, she shouldn't ever be really taking debuffs. But on to the boss. So, again, my Tyrant does have War Master, which can be a bit of a liability in this dungeon. If the War Master triggers on the boss, he can trigger the passive, which, as I showed earlier with the Yakarl and Walking Tomb Drang example in the beginning, it can be pretty devastating. But my Tyrant has 60,000 HP, so even if both adds are alive, he can survive the hit, even if it ignores 100% of his defense. And he also gets a little bit of bonus HP from his aura as well. So now even if the passive comes down, both adds are dead, so it will likely only deal a very small amount of damage. So yeah, if you liked the 3-man spider team, here's a special treat just for you guys. There's the passive. It didn't matter. Both adds were dead. It dealt basically nothing. Last time I saw him get hit by the passive with both adds alive, it dealt about 45,000 damage to him. There we go. And I get some loot. I level up my champions. And I'm probably going to sell this for silver. There you go. So to summarize it, the things you want to look for are an decreased attack champion, preferably an AoE, poisons, HP burns, and if you can squeeze one into your team, a block revive champion will drastically speed up your runs, because if the Ice Golem is not reviving his minions, you don't have to kill him again. So anyway, thanks for watching guys, and until next time, happy raiding.